we are speaking to no other person than the Director General for the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, that you know. First of all, I'm sure that a lot of people think that NADMO is about distributing rice, sugar, mattresses when there is flooding in the country, as we've seen over the years. Are you able to share with us exactly what the mandate that you have, which goes beyond this distribution that we know?
First of all, NADMO is the designated state agency responsible for managing disasters. And disasters are not only floods and bushfires. The perception is wrong. Our mandate covers a lot of things. Yes, of course, the floods and bushfires are part of it. We do a lot in climate change adaptation programs. We do a lot in disease and epidemics. You remember Ebola and other things. The moment it happens, the diseases are out. The magnitude of it makes it a disaster to a nation. We deal in a lot, like influenza diseases in pigs and other things. When it happens, it's the responsibility of NADMO to make sure the affected animals are killed before it extends to other farms. Because when it happens that way, it becomes a disaster in the country. There are a lot of things. We even deal in the migration issues. People do not understand. The knowledge is not there. When people are deported from other countries like the US, the UK, Germany, and other countries to Ghana, it is the responsibility of NADMO. First of all, people think it's Ghana Immigration Service alone. Yes, the Immigration Service go there to ensure their documentations are right, but it is the responsibility of NADMO to make sure that they are being through some processes of psychosocial interactions. We give them food and drinks to welcome them to Ghana, and it is the responsibility of NADMO to even ensure that people who have been deported from America, they were taken from possibly a street in New York, and they were just put in a plane to Ghana. How do they go to their hometown? Maybe the person is from Tepa. He gets to Accra. How does he go? It is the responsibility of NADMO to get the person transportation to go to the various hometowns. So we do a lot. But as I said, the information are not out there. So people only think of NADMO being sharing of rice and oil when there's floods and others. It's far from that. The perception is wrong.
So since you took over, what are the plans to ensure that you get the citizens or the populace educated to understand clearly what your mandate is supposed to be and see what they can do to even augment or partner with you to achieve these very targets that you have?
Example is what we are doing. What I have done is to build upon our communication system, our PR system, to get the information out there as to what NADMO actually do. Thanks to Almighty God, now we have a governing council, and together with the council has approved of my proposal to build a strong PR system for the organization. Very soon we are having a discussion with Ghana Institute of Journalism to bring media houses together and give them proper briefing from sector to sector, the various departments and the jobs we do at NADMO, so that the journalist who propagates all the activities of NADMO will understand what we actually do, and through to that it will get to the individual Ghanaians to know what we actually do.
Climate change, Ghana as a country, should we be worried about it?
Yes, of course, we should. Climate change issues are all over the world. It is not with disasters alone. When you talk about climate change, you go to forestry, and the climate change is everywhere. The cutting down of trees all over in our country affects our climate change issues. You and I know when we were young, some days back, that we know in Ghana, it's only in June, July when rains falls. But today it's not like that. It changed. Sometimes in January, February, there are rains all over. Sometimes in June, July, when you expect rains to fall, it doesn't. You know, these are all climate change issues. You know, it's a lot. You know, these droughts and other things in the northern regions and are all as a result of climate change issues. So yes, Ghana should be much concerned about climate change issue. And that is exactly what we are doing. It's a fantastic job as far as climate change issues are concerned in NADMO.
And does NADMO have the data to be able to look at and say, okay, this year, with the partnership that we've done with probably the Meteo or Ghana Surveys or whichever agencies that they are, you're able to say, okay, these are the challenges that are coming and we are prepared for it? Because you are more of a preventive organization, or you only wait until it happens, then you have to move in?
Don't forget that Ghana is still a developing country. We are not a developed country. And even with the developed country, sometimes things are taken by surprise. You cannot beat nature. So I wouldn't say that with our climate change workings and others, as a country, we will be able to come out to tell Ghanaians that there's going to be a rainfall tomorrow or the next day. Or sometimes GMET gives an indication that there will be a rainfall 6 o'clock, but it won't come. It will come maybe the following week. Sometimes it doesn't happen that way. But at least we are doing our best as a developing country. We don't have enough equipment, enough machines. Like earthquake issues, even when you go to Geological Service Department, the enough machines to determine magnitudes and other things are not there. Therefore, they are all, NADMO is a coordinating agency to ensure that our climate change comes out to determine this and other things. We need to coordinate all these agencies. So if one agency does not have the necessary machines to help us, you should know that we are unable to give accurate information as you expect. Then I'll come back to my assertion that Ghana is a developing country. But there is one thing that we've just been given is an achievement for Ghana and NADMO, that today, the UN Outer Space Program, the big data program, the modernized way, the technological ways of managing disasters and coming out with proper and accurate data. There's only one African country in the world, in Africa, only one African country that had been hooked to the charter, the international charter, thanks to God and the good work we did. Ghana, NADMO and Ghana last month was given the permission to be part of the international charter in space and big data collection. So with this, we're going to link up, and when immediately there's a disaster, we are able to get the data accurately through the big data space program. So this is a new thing that is coming in, and I strongly believe it will help us get the data. But that is not to say that we don't have data. We have some data, but we don't have enough as a developing country.
Okay, so let me now bring us to why we're here. The African risk capacity. Yeah. How are you taking advantage of it?
In 2012, heads of various countries in the African Union came with this sovereign policy to help member countries. And in 2016, January, Ghana signed on to the MOU. And in June 2016, the agreement was signed. We've come a long way. We've gone through all the processes that leads to being part of the system. Last year, the African risk capacity of the African Union gave Ghana NADMO the certificate of good standing because of the good job we have done. And so today we are part of it. And just a few months ago, we renew our work plan signing agreement. So we are on it. This is to help 5 regions in the north especially, and then the Bono East regions in case there's a drought. It is not only for drought. The insurance policy is not only for drought. There are other things on board in the pipeline, like disease and epidemics and the river flooding. But for now, as a country, we're looking at what we want to do first. And we have hooked on onto the drought, because our northern part of the country, when rain doesn't fall for 10 days, then we experience drought. And the government policy of the Ministry of Agriculture is planting for food
And agriculture.
and jobs in order to sustain it, to ensure there's food security in the country. These are some of the things you should look at, that in case there's drought as a result of lack of rainfall for 10 days, what do we do? And this insurance policy is a backup, at least not to solve all the problems, but at least if you have this, the nation can do something.
I was just going to ask you that. I mean, you talk of insurance and these ARC issues and all that. What exactly, for the benefit of the people who are watching us, what exactly is it? And how are we benefiting as a nation?
You know, our mandate is to build resilience in the country. So first of all, when we are with this ARC thing, one of their responsibilities is to help us build capacities, build resilience in the smallholder farmers in the various catchment areas that we talking about, and also to prevent food security. It is also going to help us to minimize the urban migration from the north to the south, and also to build a gap between the south and the north. But the ARC insurance policy is a backup. You know, that is not to say we are going to put everything. But, you know, in case there's any drought or a disaster, because we are hooked on into this, it will trigger to the ARV of the ARC.
That's their app.
That is their app.
Which means that you're getting an information ahead of time.
Ahead of time.
That there's going to be drought in your country.
There's going to be drought in the country, so that you put down all preparatory measures, preparedness plan and other things, or we have contingency plan. But the moment it triggers and the app gives us an information that this is what is going to happen, at least we can mitigate the magnitude of such disasters.
So being insurance, the government of Ghana will have to pay something.
We need to pay something.
Put in a pool.
That is it.
And then when this kind of disaster or needs is triggered for the ARV, you are able to
get something
get information and then this payout.
Sure, and you know, it's good to have insurance, because no country in the world, when there's a big disaster, you can solve it on your own. You need support from other countries. So it's better when you have insurance, then you know that you have a statutory backup to help you in case. In other organizations, in other countries, an appeal that you're going to make to get those things. But if you appeal to somebody and it doesn't come, what do you do? But with the insurance, it's a statutory thing, and it's a good thing to be part of.
But one may ask that we have parts of Accra which is also on the earthquake line.
Yeah.
And if Ghana wanted to sign on to this, I'm aware that it's not only for the farming thing, just as you indicated, you said that, look, it's for both earthquakes, it deals with river, whatever, and all those things. So which means that when there is disaster, you will be supported. Why are you hooking on only to the drought side?
Yeah, I haven't added earthquake yet. I made mention of river flooding and disease and epidemics. And even that one is a new thing that the ARC has brought on board. But for now, we're looking at the problem. It's individual problems in different countries, you know. We're looking at, we start from one. You don't just jump straight away and put everything together that we are taking everything to ARC for insurance. No, I will say it again that we are a developing country, so we'll be careful whatever we do. But for now, we've realized that our challenge is the drought in the 5 northern regions and the Bono East. And you know what? This planting for food and jobs by the president is helping the country, increasing our agriculture, our foodstuffs and others. And if you don't do anything about it, you know, hunger is a problem to the world. So in doing anything that will sustain or that will ensure food security, is something we don't have to joke with it. And Ghana is an agriculture country. So we are looking at this fair. That is not to say that is the end. As time goes on, we can hook on to the insurance, maybe disease and epidemics, or the river flooding. Looking at the Bagre Dam issues that confront us. Government is trying to do something. If you listen to what cabinet has come out with, the plannings to solve the problem of Bagre Dam by building the Polugu dam and other things. If that works, that it means that our problems at the Bagre Dam will be solved. But if it hasn't happened that way, it means that we as a country need to add that one to the insurance so that when there's that river flooding, at least something can be done for the farmers.
So what are the key determinants that you use in deciding on the fact that even though we have earthquake issues, we have earth tremors, if I will put it at the McCarthy area, the Keta area, which is a lowland area, they sometimes get river overflows and all that. Why did you decide that, okay, droughts in the northern part of the country is what we should look at to help these farmers, because we feel that the farmers need it more? Is it because of governments planting for food and jobs, thinking that food security is more important than, saving those other lives?
Not at all. ARC started with only drought on the continent. I made mention of river flooding and disease and epidemics. They are the new thing they are bringing in. But before we signed on to it, it was only drought. And then even though ARC came out with drought for the member countries to agree with, we as a nation too must look at our priorities. NADMO did not just sit down and then come out with that we're going to support drought and then present it to ARC. That is so. The process is we have what we call customization. That is when we get through the app to look at what suits the country, and then when we have that, then we look at other parameters, and we have a technical committee which made up of about 10 ministries and other department, including GMET, because we need to get data from GMET as to the rainfall pattern in the country, looking at the soil situation. You made mention of Keta. Yes, there can be other things there, but we look at the priorities first, and then we move from there. So looking at that, the technical committee will meet. NADMO is a coordinating agency, so we coordinate a lot of agencies to come together. We sit down and then look at what is best for Ghana, not what is best for NADMO. So when we come out with such a decision, it informs, and then already we have contingency plans, and then we look at the risk transfer. All those things come together to give us information as to whether to go in for this. So with all what we did, the results came to a conclusion that what ARC is coming out with, the drought, is what we also need. And that is why we hook on into it. And I believe our presidents knew this. That's why they also supported the African Union's proposal for ARC.
So you think that is money worth spending?
Sure.
I see.
More than the word worth.
All right. Would you consider taking another policy or adding on the river flowing their banks and all that, the river flows that is causing of flooding? Would you consider that?
Sure. I mean,
especially we are looking at Accra.
Yes.
And you know that when it rains all the time.
No, we are not looking at Accra now.
Not only Accra. I'm just mentioning that,
yes.
We are prone to flood anytime it rains.
I did said earlier on that the African risk capacity itself is coming out with new programs on river flooding and diseases and epidemics. So when we reach there, we will know what to do. But for now, we are working on the drought.
You're working just on the drought?
Yes, for now.
And so
then, as a developing country.
As a developing country.
Yes.
So what are you also at NADMO doing to deal with these flood situations? Because every now and then we hear people must break down their buildings because they built on waterways.
Yes.
And these things are cost to us as a nation, because when there's flooding, then you have to look for money to resettle people, help them. And that is how come people think that all you do is to distribute rice, mattresses, and buckets. You understand? That's how come people think that way. What are you doing yourself differently? Because if we don't have such a program with ARC, what are we doing as a country to deal with these disasters that keep hitting us? Because Accra, anytime it rains, and I'm repeating it, the slightest rain, homes get flooded.
Yeah, we're doing a lot. There's this project we call Accra Resilience Project, which is being supported fully by the World Bank. It is being done by Ministry of Finance, Works and Housing, the AMA, and NADMO. We are working on it, and it is ongoing. Very soon, you will be seeing a lot of development projects going on in Accra, as to do with drains and other things. If millions of dollars are going to come from the World Bank support for us to work more on sanitation. You know, this flood mostly are caused by the poor sanitation problem that we have in our country. The Odo River, for instance, and other small drains and other things. So there is a big program going on called Accra Resilience Project, and that is going to take care of this Accra issue. That is not to say it is only Accra. In Kumasi, in other regions, there are a lot of things. We are working. You know, NADMO is a coordinating agency. Our council is made of 10 ministries. Works and Housing is part of it. The Ministry of Sanitation is part of it, and we are working hand in hand to make sure that we work more on this sanitation issue. And most of our drains in our country, they are very small, and we are looking at how Works and Housing will now widen the kind of drains that we have, so that when there's rain, at least it can cater for it. These are some of the problems. So we are not only looking at ARC and then droughts alone. There are a lot of, I made mention earlier that our mandate is very huge. So we need to explain more for Ghanaians to know what we are doing. We are doing a lot.
Let me bring you to the Makati area.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's an area you want to talk about. Why? Because, I mean, you've gone there yourself, and many times you've issued warnings, but people keep building. There are homes in that area. Earth tremors these days seem to be very rampant in that area. Is that a worry to you?
Very, very. Let me tell you a small story. In Sierra Leone, when there was a disaster there, we were there. And where it happened, we were told that a technical officer, an engineer, said that where they were building was not a good place to build. And you remember, people organized, and he was killed. And some years after it happened, and one day over 400 people were buried. In everything we do in this country, we read politics into it. The NDC and the MPP politics, that is not helping us. Right now, if NADMO together with other agencies come out that we're going to demolish most structures in Makati Hill and Wager areas, just imagine what is going to happen in this country. That Asamoah Gyan's house is at the top there, and you're going there to demolish it. People are going to go after us. But as a country, we need to take some radical actions. NADMO has no power to demolish any building in this country. Sometimes when there are floods and other things, people say, NADMO, you sat down, you didn't demolish this building. NADMO Ghana has no power legally to demolish any structure in this country.
But then you could team up with the police and everything.
The power is with the development authorities, the physical development authorities of the various assemblies. They have to do that. But Parliament has passed a new law. The LI is being worked out. When it happened that when the Parliament passed the LI, then we will have some power to do some demolition.
You're going to have the power to be able to do demolition. That's what you are seeking to do this time around.
We are seeking to do that. The law, the new Act 927 has been passed. The LI is being worked on. The Parliamentary Select Committees has met on it. Very soon it will be laid before Parliament, and we have power to do those things. So let me come to the earth tremors and the earthquake. You want me to talk about it? You know, Ghanaians don't believe there can be earthquake in Ghana. But in 1939, there were earthquake in Ghana, and 16 people died. A lot of buildings collapsed. A lot of properties were destroyed. Look at our population at that time and today with the infrastructure and other things. And if you look at the world, so many countries that has experienced earthquake, 80 years from that time, automatically the possibility of repeating itself is very high.